Oh, man. Good evening. We're going to see if we can get through this without technical difficulties. Remains to be seen. Oh, what up? It's another Sunday here in the summertime. What's going on, everybody? It's me and it's Ian. We're talking about, we got a few things to talk about. Again, it's another slow summer. It is what it is. What's going on, Ian?
Not much at all. It's like you said, it is the absolute dog days of summer at this point.
Well, evidently, Doug Wilson did himself a little interview, which, to be honest, I was a little like, oh, really? Because I asked to do this like a year ago, and
Right.
was like, he's not doing interviews right now, and blah, blah. Oh, well, okay. I just wanted to ask a couple of questions, and one of which was, how do you feel about the Pavelski thing all these years later? So, he finally admits to it. Not signing Pavs was a mistake 5 years ago after the fact.
Yeah.
I guess the first thing to say is hindsight's 2020, right?
100, and I think that's the big thing here. I think if you go back in time to when that decision was made, I mean, we are watching Patrick Marleau get bought out by the Hurricanes after being traded from the Leafs. And the thing about Joe Pavelski is Joe Pavelski's the exception to the rule. He's not the rule.
Very much
Right?
so.
He's like most guys trail off, and like Pavelski, we didn't really see a drop off in Pavelski's play until pretty much the end of this season. Was when it finally started to kick in. But yeah, I mean, obviously, look at with the information we have today. It was a big mistake. I can understand the thought process at the time, because again, like Joe Pavelski is the exception to the rules. Most players don't maintain that level of play into your late 30s. Like very, very few players do. More often than not, guys drop off a cliff, especially between 35 and 40.
Yeah, not too many guys are like Pavelski or Chelios where they're aging like wine. Doesn't really happen very often.
Yeah, Chelios is a machine. He played till he was 48 or something ridiculous.
Oh, so silly. But it's funny that now he says, yeah, we should have found a way to get it done. It was a mistake. And a lot of people were saying that. And I'm not going I'm not here to go down the, Kane Carlson rabbit hole on why it didn't happen.
We have litigated this so many
to
times.
Death.
Yeah, I said, I mean, and that's kind of why with my thoughts I tried to avoid all that stuff. I just, I think you look at the information that at the time, like again, you had a guy, Patrick Marleau, who we all love, was getting bought out at the time, right? A guy who was in his later 30s. It was just, in the league, it's a copycat league. So when you start seeing guys that are up in age, who signed bigger deals, and I don't know what Pavelski was offered from the Sharks as far as money goes on that deal.
See, it's funny you bring that up, because in this article it says Wilson, out of respect for Pavelski, didn't want to divulge every detail about negotiations. He did note in a recent Athletic report that the Sharks offered Pavelski 2 years at $10 million.
Yeah, see, that's fine.
And Wilson says that those numbers aren't accurate. He didn't specify which, and I'm going to go ahead and say it's the money, because it was reported everywhere at the time that it happened that Pavs wanted 3 years, and Wilson would only go to 2. So maybe the money might be a scotch off. The years are not. He ends up getting 3.
Yeah, the term was the issue.
Yeah.
Why that didn't work out. I never believed it was about money. It was a term thing, right? And again, it was like you didn't want to be, you didn't want to be in a situation where, I think from Doug Wilson's perspective, he looked at what happened with Marleau, and he didn't want to be in a situation where in 2 years he's trading Pavelski and an asset, like a high pick to move him out and have someone, basically do the salary cap part of it, like Carolina did for the Maple Leafs.
Mm-hmm. Either way, I just I don't know. The whole thing coming out now, I was just kind of like, first off, I was very much kind of like, what was the point of this happening now? Like, I'm like, maybe this happens around the time when Pavelski, well, I guess now that he's done his retirement, I guess it's fine. But I would have expected to have seen something like this happen when they do some sort of ceremony when he retires as a Shark or whatever.
Yeah.
Because Wilson wasn't here for the Marleau retirement.
No.
Right? Now, I don't know if that was a health thing.
That was a health thing, yeah.
See, I wasn't sure. We'll see if he's going to be here in November for Thornton's. That, I think, will say a lot.
I hope so, because as much as I don't really care for Doug Wilson's end of his tenure as Sharks GMs, I mean, he's still a human being, right? So it'd be nice to see him, especially knowing that his health scare was pretty significant. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't agree with how his tenure as GM ended, but I don't, you still want him to be fine as a human being. So I hope so from that respect. Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I've seen, and again, this is just me going, why am I on social media? But
right.
I saw a couple posts that were very much like, Doug Wilson should have never been GM to begin with, the blah, blah. And I'm going like, wow, the revisionist history is huge with this one.
Again, with the benefit of hindsight, right?
Well,
no one seemed to care when everyone was picking the Sharks to win the Stanley Cup, but now that it's over and they didn't win, obviously it should have never have happened. And then you can go into whatever parallel universe you want to go where they somehow win, or do they just become like an also ran because they never trade for Joe Thornton?
Well, how long was he GM for? Like 18 seasons.
Crazy amount.
Yeah. And it's like the first 14, 15, pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
I think if your team is going to the playoffs 14 out of your first 15 seasons, you're probably doing something right. I mean, even if you want to say those first couple of seasons, well, that was actually the fruits from the labor of the previous GM paying off finally.
I think there's a little bit of that, but if you don't get Joe Thornton, I mean,
right.
The Joe Thornton trade, I mean, I don't know why I'm telling this on a Sharks podcast. Everyone should know this already, but I mean, that changed the entire franchise. Like, the Sharks were, before Joe Thornton, the Sharks were a plucky, happy to be their team. When Joe Thornton got traded for, they became a contender.
Mm-hmm. For 10 straight years.
Yeah.
And like, people did not want to face them. I guess unless they were a team from SoCal.
Kings.
Yeah, if they were a team from SoCal, they're like, yeah, bring on the Sharks. Who gives a shit? But yeah. But yeah, some of the revisionist history was just amazing. But yeah, I'll be the first one in line to say, those last couple seasons, last 3-4 seasons, when he started handing out max term and big bucks, I was kind of like,
yeah.
But like you said, it's a copycat league.
It's a copycat. You have to, right? I mean, what are you going to do if you, again, I talk about alternate universes, but I would like to see the alternate universe where the Sharks don't pony up the max term contracts and everybody leaves. I would like to see that response, because I think that response would be worse.
Oh.
I think, but I think the thing is with the end of Doug Wilson's tenure was, I think he was loyal to the wrong guys in the end.
Loyal to the wrong guys at the end. I would also say developed quite the habit of falling in love with his players.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you spend 10 years with people,
mm-hmm.
This is why I don't, because people ask us oh, why don't you interview players? And it's I don't want to make relationships with players, because if I make relationships with players, I know my personality. I will have a hard time critiquing said players. Right.
Well, not only that, but how often does a player at least a current player or a player coming up, what are they really going to say? You know, I think
Yeah.
they're coached so well in media and just well it's the what's that movie Bedazzled where Brendan Fraser is turned into a basketball player and the post game it's like, well, we just give 110% and it's literally just a laundry list of cliches, and unfortunately that's tends to be what you get when you talk to a player who's post career. Then all of a sudden you're those are the interviews that I would like to have, because,
Sure.
Now they seemed like, I kind of feel like I can't be canceled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can just unleash the dogs and it's all good. Nothing's going to change with their paycheck. But and plus there's other podcasts that talk to the guys coming up and the current ones. So
Sure. And I just think that's like the reason why I don't like to do that, is because I just don't want to build relationships that would make me be less willing to critique. Right? Like, I think that what we do that works is we come on and it's the fire hose, man. Like, open wide. We're gonna let loose the fire hose and whatever. I mean, sometimes we're crazy and off the wall with it, but it's always like it's 100% honesty, right? And I think that's the one thing that we do well, is we're really honest and we're really blunt. And like I said, it's kind of the fire hose, and I don't want to turn the fire hose into the garden hose.
Well, speaking of guys that really kept it real after calling it career, John Scott, former Sharks and All-Star MVP, has leaked that he's evidently coming to San Jose in some capacity on his Dropping the Gloves podcast. I mean, all he really said was, quote, "I can't say anything yet. Keep an eye out in San Jose for me and maybe Tim, his co-host. We'll see how it goes," end quote. So it sounds like we're waiting on some sort of formal announcement. And of course, my questions are, I don't want to get into the whole speculation routine, but my questions would be, are we talking an addition on pre and post? Is this for the game broadcast? Is this a Tara replacement? Because
that was my initial thought.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that would be a great idea. My whole thing, though, is that, look, we already know Hetty's gone, which we'll get into in a little bit now that details have finally dropped. But, like, Hannon coaches the junior Sharks, so he's already got, him doing pre-post. It's very much kind of like what Curtis Brown did, where he can stay here, do the pre-post game stuff, and that's great. Occasionally jump on for a home game with Ruzanowski if need be, great. Mark Smith has a day job. Same rules apply. He's probably, both Hannon and Smith have so much on their plate, they cannot afford to do 82 or really any significant road trip. So I would imagine somebody else at some point will be brought on, unless Ruzy's like, nah, guys, I got this. I can do this on my own. It's fine. So does Scott join a pre-post rotation that already includes Hannon, Smith, and Ramey? Is he a replacement for Tara Sloan to do, those chomp videos, the undercurrent, all that type of stuff? My other question being, is Scott too honest for any of these options? We all know what happened with Remenda.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, like, I don't know. I mean, like, John Scott's an interesting character. He's an interesting character.
He's polarizing,
right?
For sure.
He is. Yeah, he's an interesting character because, like, I don't not like him. But I just, like, I always get really nervous when these, like, old school enforcers, like, get back into media and stuff, because, like, I just feel like the game has changed and they're the last ones that don't realize it's changed.
Well, do you pay any attention to Jody Shelley on the Blue Jackets cast?
Not really, no.
Well, I mean, but we don't see him going viral
But
with
I
a
don't see like
Neanderthal
I don't
take.
see crazy video. Yeah, like I don't see crazy video of like, oh God, can you believe Jody Shelley said this? I don't know,
Right.
man. I just like it always goes back to like I think a guy who gets like who is Mark Messier, he's on either ESPN or TNT, right? And he's like the perfect example of like, and who am I to argue with Mark Messier with his like million Stanley Cup rings? But you know, like I remember when James Dolan kind of lost his mind there for a minute and like went and completely just like made them change the direction of the Rangers. You know, the things that they had to undo this summer for the most part, like all that shit they did that one summer, they kind of did. And you know, I remember Mark Messier being on and like, you know, this team is just not a team that you know, you want a team that you wouldn't want to meet in an alley. And it's like, yeah, but we're not like hockey isn't played like in an alley behind your local watering hole in 3 a.m. Like it's played on ice in an arena. Like, you know, like I don't know, man. I just like so I always get nervous about that, especially because like I find like guys like John Scott, like I believe that John Scott believes that what he did in the league is important, but I don't believe that what you know what I mean? Like I don't buy into like because John Scott's not really like let's completely be honest here. He's not the greatest hockey player, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think in today, like I think if he was still playing today, like he would be in the AHL.
Oh yeah.
Right. I don't know, man. Like so I always get nervous about that because I hate like I know there's a segment of fans that think that, you know, oh, you got to be super tough and you got to fight nonstop, you know, not know like that refuse to believe, even though the numbers are there and you can go look them up, that fighting has gone precipitously down every year over year, down. Like I'm not saying it'll be gone, but it's been so de-emphasized.
Absolutely.
And I know, like, you know, you get like guys like the guy in what's his name on New York. That was everyone. Yeah, I know the fighting guy in New York. I can't remember his name. The Rangers guy.
I immediately just whenever you bring up East Coast and like dirt bags like that, I automatically think Tom Wilson, but that's the Capitals.
Yeah, no, not Tom Wilson. The other, the not as good Tom Wilson, I guess I'll call him.
I can't even think.
Like, but you know when everyone gets like all excited, and it's like, yeah, but what, this guy can, you know, this guy's just taking dumb penalties and like he's kind of killing you on the ice, right? But I understand like the old guys get excited when
Ryan Reeves
gonna come and fight. No, not Ryan Reeves. He's a rookie. Yeah, Rempe. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Felix. Yeah. I'm just.
So I understand why that like a player like that gets people excited, but then you actually watch and then you see how they. Yeah, Matt Rempe. Thank you. You know what I mean? And then you kind of see how. Yeah, what's the real impact? It's more of a net negative.
Yeah, I'm dying to see how this is going to occur. Just if, like I said, is he joining the rotation on pre-post? Is he joining Ruzi as a color guy? And remember, you know, John Scott has 6 daughters. This guy has kids. So
yeah, I like John Scott. Don't be wrong. Like I think he's an interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not trying to disparage John Scott here. I think he's an interesting character. I just think that his nostalgia for the role that he played, like, and I get, like, again, I believe that he believes that what he did was super important. I just disagree with how important what he did was.
Yeah. Well, and if you go back, I mean, you remember this is a guy who he didn't throw any Sharks under the bus, but he did, in not so many terms, intimate that during a road trip, he went and saw the boys, had dinner with some of the guys from the Sharks and asked about Erik Karlsson, and the feedback was not great. So he was kind of throwing EK under the bus a little bit. And then, this is a guy that we did an interview with John Scott a few years ago, and he straight up, laid into Adam Burrish, where he was very much, yeah, fuck that guy.
Right.
So, and is that true? Is it 8 kids now?
Jesus. Like, can you imagine?
Is he in a race with Nick Cannon or something? Good Lord. Dude, I mean, rock on. If you got it, flaunt it, I suppose. But I have 2 and that's enough. Right? So that makes me wonder, like, is this a full relocation then? because, if you're going to be pre-post, I mean, I suppose, that I think COVID has proven that you can do shows without actually having to be, together with the person you're doing the show with. The what is it? The play-by-play and color guys for the San Francisco Giants prove that every time they go, on a West Coast road trip where you've got one guy at the game and one guy in the studio. So you could, and we saw it with the Sharks prior, where you would have Brody in studio talking to Remenda in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
So this could work in some way, shape, or form. But again, right now, details aren't out there, but there are certainly holes right now that are part of the broadcast, part of the media landscape for the Sharks, that there are some holes that still need to be filled. So quite interested to see which pipe Scott is going to fit into. Again, his honesty, I feel like, could go a long, long way. Will it?
Yeah, I'd be curious too. Like, because I feel like I wonder where John Scott's like he's like, he has like the 11th biggest hockey podcast.
I mean, it's not.
That's got to be making him some decent. So I wonder, like, that alone makes me wonder, like, how significant his role is going to be, just because, like, when your podcast is that big, you're making bank.
Mm-hmm. See, and I could see him doing. I think he would be remarkable in a Tara replacement role.
Yeah, like that's kind of where I see him kind of fitting in, or what was Jason Demers doing? Maybe something like Jason Demers was doing.
No, Demers was basically same as like Hannon, Smitty, where he was just pre-post, and that was working. But he was also doing, kind of. I think he would like, oh, Dallas wants me, okay, I'll do this game. Oh, National wants me, I'll do this game. Sharks want me, so he's just kind of bouncing around. But John Scott, I think him doing interviews with players, I think, could be fun. But again, like, what is he going to say, to your point? What is he going to say to a Celebrini or an Eklund, where the generational difference between the game is so large? Who
are we kidding? It's going to be the Luke Cunnin love fest.
Well, the Luke Cunnin
expanded.
I'm dying to see how that's going to work out. But the just John Scott's so honest and funny now that Hedy is gone. Like, now I kind of sit there in hindsight and go, I remember like the last month or so, there was a few times when Hedican in the post game was just kind of laying into the Sharks a little bit, and I was like,
yeah.
Whoa, we haven't really seen this from Hedy before. And now that Hedy's no longer with the Sharks, it's kind of like, there's a certain amount of freedom that comes with when you know that this is your last ride.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to get into that?
Yeah, I mean, so the details have come out about Hedican finally, so much speculation, all proven to be wrong. We mentioned it last week on the cast. It was like, oh my God, is he getting divorced? Or, is he moving and traveling with Christy now that the kids are older? Is he mad that Remenda returned and he's not on TV full time, which I thought was rather silly.
Yeah, that was my take. And like, I don't know. Because I think I always kind of saw him as a rising star in the broadcasting game.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, details have finally dropped. Joining the Ducks organization to be a player analyst, which I don't want to say sounds like a made-up title. It kind of sounds like a made-up title.
all these former players get made-up titles.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. The NHL does. I mean, they just outshine the rest of the other leagues when it comes to getting former guys a paycheck.
Yeah,
they are great at inventing job titles.
Job titles for yeah. This is our job.
Yeah. I like Bozosaurus. Sharks influencer. There you go. Oh my God. But yeah, last week we, said, all those things about Hedy, they're all wrong. We actually knew about it a couple weeks before it was announced, but again, it's, so
I mean, good for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wish, like, and in hindsight, like, that was such an obvious, like, move for him. I was just so tunnel visioned on, like, him being like, because again, I do regard Hedican as a broadcaster. I just think in this specific sphere, the San Jose Sharks and who they've had for broadcasters, like, I think Hedican's good. I just don't think he's better than other guys that they've had there.
Exactly. Like, see, but that's the whole thing, is if you say he's fine, I just prefer other people, you know, ends
Correct.
up being the same thing as, you know, I like apples. Why do you hate oranges? And so, like,
right.
that's not what I said.
Yeah. Like I like I said, like, I thought, like, he was a guy who I thought, you know, if he went to ESPN, like, that's a better broadcast immediately.
Sure.
But you know, getting back in the game was one that you know, someone should have probably thought of, and I'm really mad that I didn't, because that was like it was right there, and I don't know why. I was so tunnel focused on the broadcasting aspect that I did not get there.
Yeah, and I don't think I've made it any sort of secret. I far prefer Remenda.
And I think most people do.
Yeah, and you know, and what's funny is you see the outpouring, which, because social media, of course, and it's either like, oh, I'm really gonna miss Hetty, he was the best, or it's like, good, glad he's gone, you know, Remenda's the best, blah blah, and I'm just like, oh my god, can we just say, hey, you know what, good luck at whatever you're doing, and we move on to the next thing. It's fine. Let's see who takes his place. Who knows?
Better be fucking Remenda, Jesus Christ.
Well, no, I think, you know, that I think what this means, Hannon and Remenda are full-time TV now, and it wouldn't surprise me, you know, look, I think Han's 65, I think Remenda's like 61, 62, so it wouldn't surprise me if these guys go for, I don't know, the next 5, 6, 7 years, however long they want to go. But I think
these guys, like, I find broadcasters are a weird breed, right? Like, they just don't retire.
Well, but I think they go down in the ship together. You know, they're just going to ride. Yeah, I don't see Remenda, you know, them sliding somebody else in. Whether Han decides, okay, I've done 40 years, I'm done. Sure. You know, here's my swan song. And I don't see Remenda sticking around for another couple of years to, like, ease Nolenberger into the job, or somebody else, whoever it might be. I think they kind of go down together. But that's just me. And as someone who hates speculation, there's my speculation.
Yeah. You want to hit the super chat?
Yeah. So pretty good. What happened with Dan Boyle? He was on TV for a minute and then he was gone. I mean, my honest take on that is I don't think Boyle's comfortable in that role. So it's like, you know, if Brody asks him to do something, we saw it a couple seasons ago where they did pre and post from Dan Boyle's house.
Yeah.
You know, something like that where it's kind of comfortable or whatever. I think Boyle was maybe up for that, but the couple of times that he was in studio, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to be his gig. He doesn't, I don't know. You tell me. I mean, even when we talked to him, you know, I did an interview with him a couple of years. Even on that, I felt like, oh, okay, it's a former player. Maybe the honesty, you know, comes over the top, which I always hope for. And to be honest, I thought and maybe my questions needed to be better. But I thought Dan Boyle did kind of come off a little bit like, oh, why did I agree to do this? You know, he's like, I could be playing golf, you know?
Yeah. I've never interacted with the man, but just from, like, what I've seen and, you know, basically what other people have said with their interactions with him, he just seems to like to keep to himself, from what I understand. Like, I just feel like he's happy he's happy being private citizen Dan Boyle instead of personality Dan Boyle.
Yeah.
Like, that's what, and again, like, that's without me ever actually interacting with the man personally. That's just based on anecdotes and, you know, what I've heard. So I guess that would be my take. Well, but again, it's based on not personal experience.
Well, to what you're saying, you look at, as soon as Marlowe and Thornton were done, they're still here at the dev camps. They're still involved, you know. They don't even have official. Thornton at this point doesn't. Oh no, I'm sorry, director of vibes, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah. Director of Vibes.
But they don't. They didn't spend any time away. They were just like, okay, we're not playing. Well, then we're going to do something else. Where Boyle is very much kind of like, oh, you want me to show up to a draft party and take photos? Okay. And
Does he have children?
I believe Boyle has 2 children.
Okay. Are they in the game? Are they playing?
I don't know, but I do believe at this point they've got to be like 5th, 6th grade age.
Okay. Because like I think that's like when you look at Thornton and Marlowe, right? Like they've always Thornton's always been a rink rat. I wonder if it's a situation where you never give a chance to get out because like when you're not playing and you have time off, then you're taking your kids to tournaments, whatnot, and you just kind of like, and then so dev camps is just the next logical step. I don't know, man. Like again, like I don't know the man, so I don't want to speculate too much. I just wonder, again, based on the fact that he's never been a guy who's, for a while there. I mean, if you wore the jersey for 5 minutes, there was a job for you.
Oh yeah.
Right. And he's never really been in anything in that role. So I don't know, man. Like again, based on what little I know about the man, and I think that's a big part of it, right? Is like he's a very private dude from all accounts.
Yeah. I think like if they ask him for a favor, he's like, yeah, no, sure, I got you. But
yeah,
it definitely doesn't seem like he's someone that wants to, like, he's like, I don't need the gig. So
yeah, I mean, good Lord knows he made enough money.
Exactly. Let's move on then. So Hedican's out of the way. Staying on the Sharks, we did see a signing this week. You want to say the name of right winger Igor
Chernyshov.
Okay, see.
I think that's how you say it. If not, someone in the chat's going to yell at me.
I was going to say, you and Lace need to do like a show at the beginning of the season where you just like go through the pronunciation guide.
Go through the pronunciation? Yeah, I
know. Alden saying, Boiler is a girl dad. Remember when he had Taylor Swift's 22 as a goal song?
Yes.
So, yeah, so I believe he does have a couple of daughters. I didn't want to speculate too much into that, but yeah. So anyway, I think he's probably, and I don't want to, get overly personal, but I mean, the information, the information is public, but he's no longer with the children's mother. So that, they're doing some co-parenting in that regard. So he's got stuff he's doing. The guy has a life. He doesn't need to be doing stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What do you think about, what'd you say his name was? It Chernyshov. So going to play for the OHL Saginaw Spirit. What are you thinking there?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, obviously the one thing with the European game is it's different, right? The KHL game, it's different than the NHL game. So you obviously want to get a guy over and start playing North American hockey as soon as you can. This guy's going to go play for the Saginaw Spirit, a team that I absolutely fucking loathe.
How come?
They're a rivalry to my team, right? So it'd be like cheering for the Kings or the Ducks. See, right? You're a Sharks fan. You don't do it.
See, I just find it funny because actually my mother was born in Saginaw.
Okay.
So I saw that and I'm like, at least I've heard of the city. I've never heard of the team. So
yeah, no, I think based on just like quick glance at the OHL, I think it's going to be a dead heat between the London Knights and the Saginaw Spirit again. I think both teams are both going to continue to be very good. Chernyshov is obviously going to get an opportunity to play a decent role with a pretty good team in Saginaw, who's going to have some, a lot of their guys are still going to be there. A draft eligible guy next year named Michael Misa, who got exceptional status. I think he's looking to have a bounce back year. Zane Perrick's going to be there again. So I think that, Saginaw, they run a good program. They're generally, I think there's some junior teams where they're kind of like good once in a blue moon. Saginaw does a good job of being good and then quickly rebuilding to be good again in a couple of years. And they're basically going to continue to be, in my opinion, at the peak of their power. So he's joining a really good team that's going to be, like I said, they're going to be in a dead heat with London to try and see if they can go back to the Memorial Cup, which I believe is in the Western Hockey League this year. So It's good. It's a good program for him to play in. It's definitely, I'm gonna have to go check out some games when they play in the Sioux, which is often enough. So I'm really excited for that. And I think the other benefit is he's a situation like Casper Haltonen, where if he just tears it up in the OHL this year, you could bring him to the Barracuda next year because he was drafted out of the KHL, which means the CHL, NHL rules don't apply.
So it sounds like, from if I'm hearing you right, going to be playing for a good team, going to be playing against good players while playing with good players, and learning that North American style.
Right.
These are all good things. How old is Chernyshov? Is he, what, like 19 then?
18. Just drafted this year.
See? So there you go. Sleepy asking here, it's better for him to play for Saginaw, but hypothetically, if he wanted to play for the CUDA, would Saginaw still have...
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's a different situation, right? Like with the guys that are drafted out of Europe, basically with him not having a contract in the KHL anymore, if the Sharks signing him to his ELC can kind of control where he goes at that point, which is a nice thing to have. It doesn't make any sense for him to, like, I honestly believe it doesn't make any sense for him to play with the Barracuda next year, though the OHL is the best place for him. AJ's Park Canadian. Saginaw's in Michigan, my guy.
It's very, very north. But it is in Michigan.
It's still in Michigan. It's still in the continental United States.
Pretty good 49 also asking, is this the first time where the Sharks have signed all these ELC contracts after the draft? Seems unusual. Well, I think it's the case of they have guys worth signing now.
Correct. Yeah. Like this is a situation where I think you see this with a lot of teams. You're gonna always sign your because again, like here's the thing about signing guys to ELCs now, right? Like a guy like obviously Will Smith and Celebrini are gonna play on the Sharks this year. But the other gentleman they drafted, and I'm fucking blanking on his name, he's a defenseman.
Dickinson?
He plays for the London Knights. Thank you, Sam Dickinson. He's obviously going back to junior this year. But with him being down in junior, his contract doesn't account against the contract limit, and his contract's gonna slide. So it has no impact on, like, him signing now has no impact versus him signing later. But what him signing now does do is he gets to come to training camp and he gets to hang out with the pros. And then, obviously some point in training camp, they're going to send him down. I don't see a situation where he gets games. I just don't see a path to, he might get some preseason games, but I don't see a path to him getting any regular season look this year. But you can still bring him to camp and get him that experience, right? Because you want, obviously, if you traded up to get him, you invested a first-round pick in him, you want to maximize that investment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Knights. Oh, man, I always like it when somebody brings up past shows. What's the update on the campaign shirt? Still looking into it. But if when we're ready to announce something, you'll see it on the Twitter, on the Teal Town Twitter. So let's move on. I came across this on Reddit a couple days ago.
Okay.
And I've seen something similar to this go around previously. I've never seen it as good a quality as this. And unfortunately, I didn't get the poster's name. But this person came along and said, what if we took the original the current logo, but designed it as if it was the original logo? And then what if we took, the original logo and designed it as if it was the current logo? And so this is what you have, the two top ones being, these. Are either of these hitting for you? Because I got to tell you, there's one that jumps out to me.
They're just fine.
I feel you, but for some reason, the old logo with the current colorization, that fucking pops to me. I don't. Maybe I'm just partial to the original Shark because that's when I became a fan.
Yeah, I just feel like this is what you would get if you ordered your jersey from China.
or a pretty big U.S. company. But anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it. And what's funny is, again, these were done so goddamn well. I feel like if you saw either of these logos on a shirt, like on the upper left of a polo or something like that, or even fairly big on a t-shirt, I don't know that you'd give it a second look. Like you'd be like, yeah, Sharks logo. I mean, whoever did this, stick taps to you, my friend.
Yeah, it's neat, but
yeah, really well done. I mean, that took a lot of effort to pull that off. So anyway, I just I don't know. I just thought that was really cool. I thought I would share it.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's definitely neat.
And then the Tyga saying the redesign of the old logo slaps. The redesign of the new logo sucks. Oh, I'm sorry. New logo sucks. Old logo slaps. Yeah, top left is sick. So, I mean, again, in the thing about the Sharks logo, which seems to be ubiquitous, is if you grew up with the original logo, that's the logo you prefer. If you became a fan after 07, that's the logo you prefer. That is what I've seen overwhelmingly across the whole thing. So let's move on. We talked about details coming out, mentioned Hedican earlier. Jeff Merrick. All right. Those details finally come out after radio silence for like a month. It comes out that evidently Jeff Merrick at the draft was allegedly leaking picks moments before they were being announced. So he's being questioned by the Nevada Gaming Control, the NHL security. I mean, my first question is, was it some like no-name guy? Is it a guy who was,
No, so I don't know who the guy who was leaking it to, but on the Athletic Hockey podcast, they kind of discussed it, the people that released the original story, and they said that he was like mainstream scout adjacent. So it's someone who's like popular in that sphere. So it's not like a completely outside guy, but they never said who it was, obviously, for whatever reason. I mean, it's really, I don't know. I mean, isn't ESPN the rights holder for the NBA, or is it TNT still?
I don't watch soccer.
Right. So like I just feel like this is something that happens all the time. Now I understand the gambling aspect of it, and this is unfortunately the price you pay when you jump into bed with gambling, like all pro sports has done. Because let's be honest, the revenues the TV revenues are harder. Are a lot of broadcasters are having a harder time getting a return on investment on their broadcasting deals that they're paying significant money for.
Big time.
Right. So they've kind of gone to, so I think gambling's become this wholly new revenue stream for everybody. To me, it's like, though, like, and I'm not a sports gambling guy, so someone help me out here. Wouldn't that bet be locked before like it was made? Like I'm not sure how how much before the draft like all this stuff was getting leaked to the point where you like if the betting's a concern, why aren't these bets locked at that point?
For me, not only betting, but that was the whole thing. I'm like, if he's leaking this moments,
yeah,
who has the ability, to as soon as he gets a text from Merrick, the guy is at the sports book, laying.
Well, I mean, you could just flip tabs on your phone and make bets. I mean, that's the way it is now, right?
But I mean, if we're talking moments, how is that not locked? I would imagine that once a team is on the clock, they should be locked out of betting on that particular pick. You know what I mean?
That's what I thought too, right? Like you stop the bets when the roulette wheel's almost finished, when the ball's almost in the thing, right? It goes around a couple times and you lock the bets. That's it, because it's gonna fall into the number. Like it's the only gambling I know.
Yeah, either way, I mean, it's just I don't know. It's like again, more questions popping in my head. I'm like,
yeah, like so Tiger's saying betting closes 24 hours before the draft, which makes sense to me.
Okay then. So
Like,
I don't know
man.
what the
Like,
fuck is going on here.
understand. Like, to me, it makes me wonder again.
Like, who benefited from it? Because that's the only reason, really, why this information getting out early. Did somebody financially benefit from it in any way, shape, or
I think
form?
it's just the fact that there's a potential for it, I guess. But again, I don't know the ins and outs. The thing that I wonder too is this just a situation where, like, Jeff Merrick's been at Sportsnet for a long fucking time, dude.
Well, you think this was a scapegoat thing? Like they were looking for a reason to depart?
Oh, I think look, I think Sportsnet has taken an absolute bath on this NHL deal. I think it's hurt them in ways that they.
But doesn't the Merrick and Friedman podcast, doesn't that do like ridiculously high numbers?
I'm sure it does. I'm just thinking that Jeff Merrick, being at Sportsnet as long as he had, probably makes a significant amount of money, right? And we've seen other guys, like we've seen bigger guys go and then come back or go completely. I mean, media is a absolute, sports media right now is just an absolute bloodbath. And I think especially up at Sportsnet where I think the NHL deal has not done them as good as they thought it would, when they pushed everyone else out and just got it all for themselves.
Well, I mean, like I don't know why Merrick thought this was okay to do. And I mean, I would assume this guy seems pretty bright that if he didn't think... It
happens in every league.
Yeah. Well, and again, you know, Frank Saravalli leaks the entire Kraken expansion draft the night before. Nothing happens.
Well, but he's not... I think the distinction there is that Frank Saravalli was not a member of the rights holder for the NHL in Canada, right? He was his own independent thing, so it's not like. Still, I don't know.
The NHL has influence. You know,
sure.
if they wanted to, they could have pushed.
More influence over their rights holder than a guy who's off doing his own thing.
I don't know that this was really a fireable offense, but.
You know what? I mean. The thing is, though, is like Jeff Merrick, like there's no way Jeff Merrick is not going to land on his feet here. Like somebody was just gifted Jeff Merrick and they're going to be the better for it. So
absolutely. Like
fuck it, Sportsnet.
How does whether it's the Athletic or whoever, how does somebody not say, oh, we'll take that podcast and run with it?
If I'm TSN, I would scoop him up tomorrow.
Yeah. Like I'm surprised it hasn't already happened yet, but maybe at this point, you know, that things are happening behind, you know, under the surface, behind the closed doors that we don't even know. So either way, NHL and Sportsnet declined to comment, leaving everyone like us to really
Tiger's
speculate.
Making the point here. Like he got the thing is, being the rights holder, he got the information directly from the NHL and then disseminated it. And I think that's where he got into trouble. Because again, it's because the TSN, like, because Sportsnet is the rights holder, so obviously he's privy to information that like TSN doesn't have, or you know, other people, or maybe other people get that information, but they don't get it directly from the league. They get it leaked to them from another source. That's not, there's no direct line. And I think that's where Merrick got into trouble, unfortunately. I like, again, I think it's a big loss for Sportsnet. I think that, I don't know, man, like Jeff Merrick is just like, I remember when me and Puck Guy got to talk to Jeff Merrick once. It was fucking awesome. Like he's just like all accounts, right? Like Jeff Merrick is like just one of the nicest guys in hockey.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
He's going to land on his feet, and I look forward to seeing what he's doing next. It's just unfortunate. Like 32 Thoughts is not going to exist anymore, and I think that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, I do feel like there might be more meat on this bone, so it'll be interesting to see what comes out. But yeah. I mean, how amazingly hypocritical is the NHL? They get 10 minutes of gambling ads per game. The RSNs are displaying odds prior to games, but you
can't watch a broadcast up here now without like odds for fucking everything splashing on the screen. It's gross. It's gross. I'm not gonna lie. Like, and again, I'm not a betting guy, so I just find the whole thing kind of gross.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, eventually the truth will come out, and then we'll see what happens. It's not like the NHL doesn't have a long and glorious history of having egg on its face from time to time, so we'll see what happens. Finally, before we get out of here, just a stick tap to some of our viewers who left some great comments last week.
You got thumped.
Yes, I really want to like Teal Town, but AJ makes it hard. Nice. Appreciate that one. Another one said, clean up your language. That wasn't directed
That'll
at me.
never happen. I mean,
that wasn't specifically directed at me, but I feel seen.
So would I. I wasn't even on the show and I feel seen.
Right. And then sometimes AJ reminds me of that Simpson bit, old man yells at cloud. Well, that's what I'm here for, man. We all play a role.
We all have a role.
Yeah, we all have a part to play, and that's mine, and I embrace it fully. For the one that said clean up your language, I think I only cussed like 3 times this hour, so I think I'm doing better than normal.
I think my language has been pretty. I don't know. I swear, like I don't even think, and I just swear like when I talk now, which is really bad because like I swear in situations that are where swearing is totally inappropriate. Well, and I don't even realize I'm doing it anymore. It's the worst. Yeah,
I definitely feel that. But I also remember being like really passionate about some of the topics last week, and so. But you know, when the passion kicks, so does the filter turns off and everything just. And then,
like I said, it's the fire hose.
Yeah, right. And Knight's going, how can people not like AJ? I know, right? It happens. Ask my wife. Oh, man. All right. So I don't know if we're going to continue this for the rest of August. Again, if a couple of these things didn't drop this week, we probably would not have gone on tonight. But we don't know what other bombshells are going to drop between now and next Sunday and when they might happen. I will say that I am sitting on a juicy piece of info. I don't know when it is going to be made public, but when it does, we will be on and talking about it. But it's obviously not for us to share, so we'll just sit here and wait. That person shouldn't come to the Discord. Oh, is there a lot of cursing in the Discord?
The Discord can be fun sometimes. Not for the faint of heart sometimes. The faint of heart can be the Discord. I will agree to that. I mean, it's all in good fun. Like I don't want to make the Discord sound like it's this awful place. Like I think it's definitely it can get a little racy sometimes, but I think it's respectful. Everyone treats each other good in there. I like.
See, and I love the Tyga saying, I loved AJ's clap back to me. See, I have a small memory of that. And then AO saying, AJ needs to drink more like the old shows. No, I do not. But when it happens, yeah, it's something to write home about.
Yeah.
And it's usually not something good.
Bozo, hit up Hockey Jerk on Twitter. He will get you the Discord. He has the keys.
So is there anything else you see on the horizon? I mean, I know people were a little triggered when Jules was saying Bordelot might get traded between now and the deadline, but is there anybody else? Like, are all the deals done for this upcoming season? Is there any reason you see Greer pulling the trigger on that isn't goalie related at this point?
I don't think there's a rush to do anything goalie related. I understand, like, again, like,
I got to get Martin Jones over here. We're still paying him.
We're still paying him twice. Martin Jones, a good goalie, so good we paid him twice. No, I don't. Again, as knowing what we know, like right now, everything points to Vanacek being ready for the season. So I don't think there's a big rush for a goalie. This team's not going to be good either. Like if one of the goalies gets broken and Magnus Krona has to go play some games, that's not the worst thing that could happen to this team.
Yeah,
this isn't over. Like I know we got Celebrini, and I want everyone to be excited for Celebrini and Will Smith and some of these guys we have in here, but this isn't over. Like,
I got to tell you. So my dad came into town this past week for a visit. Just left yesterday, right? But took him to Monterey, and he likes to hang out on the coast because he lives in Texas. So of course it's like, yeah, let's go to the coast where it's 68 degrees and nice versus, the balmy August humidity that he's dealing with outside of Austin. But he was here, and we actually went to this wine tasting place in Capitola, and the dude notices that I'm wearing like a Sharks quarter zip or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, Sharks fan, you're local." And yeah, he goes, "Oh, how do you think they're going to do this year?" Horrible, and it's not as horrible as last season, but it's not going to be good. But overall for the franchise, it'll be good.
Yeah,
that's all we're looking for. Yeah,
that's what I think. Like, I think they're on the right path, but like, they're not playing for a Stanley Cup this year.
Yeah. Oh man. Let me get back to pretty good here. You guys are awesome. Fuck the haters. Keep the cussing. This makes it more genuine and less scripted. Oh, believe you me.
There is no script.
Yeah. We have a couple bullet points like, okay, remember to talk about that, but we never script comments. It's just kind of like I had to write down Chernyshov.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chernyshov.
See, I'm never going to.
It's fine.
We need to get Lacey just on a loop saying it, and then
saying names
I'll absorb it at that point.
We are going to talk about Igor Chernyshov.
So, yeah, I think, and depending on...
I think, like, other than, like, maybe, like, he might bring some guys on a PTO or something, but I don't think there's anything big going to happen. Yeah, it's probably, like, again, we're well into the dog days of summer at this point. There's not a whole lot going on.
But I mean, enjoy August and September because the season is right around the corner.
It'll be back sooner than it's crazy how it feels like an eternity, but at the same time, like, it's like it's 2 months and then it's right back to the grind.
Yeah, I mean, they call it the dog days for a reason. August is by far the longest month when it comes to sports because, quite honestly, it's I'm waiting for football to kick in at that point because usually the Giants aren't worth watching anymore, so it's waiting for football and whatever happens. So again, unless something big comes, I don't know, maybe Shang or somebody's going to do an interview with somebody else that we'll talk about next Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to try
John
and see...
John Scott's role becomes official and determined. Yeah,
and then rookie tournament's coming up too. I think at some point, like, I know there's a couple of things I'd like to do this summer, like just in the vein of content for content's sake, like
certainly didn't invent it.
I would like to do, like, I think it'd be fun to do like a prospect pyramid show or something like that as a thing. But I have to converse with my fellow prospect people and see if we can. If we can make that work for time. Because I want to. It's something that, like, you want to have some time to prepare for, not just be like, hey, we're doing prospect pyramids tonight. Get it done.
Yeah. Well, and to Knight's point here, he's talking about Snell's no hitter the other day. Or I believe that was on Friday.
I don't watch cricket.
See, and that's the whole thing is, maybe we need to open it up during the summer that, okay, we can talk about a couple of the other local sports at the end. Because I was at Logan Webb's complete game on Wednesday against the A's, so that was really cool. And then to see it backed up by a no-no, that was fun. That was a good week. The AJ and Ian swearing for an hour show. Yeah.
That's every show. Have you not watched us do a show before?
So I guess with that, we'll pack it in. You can follow him at Ian Blogs Hockey on the Twitter. You can follow me
when I'm on there, man. Like, so here's the thing, I'm gonna be very upfront about this right now. This time of year in the United States is when I basically just almost completely unplug from social media for the most part. So if you message me on Twitter or something and I don't respond, it's because, man, it's like everything else in this world. Everything's great until fucking politics takes over it, and then it sucks.
Yeah, I will say I do find it kind of funny that there are certain people that I think it's almost like they treat Twitter as like it's a personal text machine. So if they don't hear back from you within 10 minutes, they're like, what the fuck?
What the fuck? Yeah, no. I just try to unplug from social media this time of year because it's so I have a pretty curated timeline. I don't if you put too much shit into my timeline, you're either getting muted or unfollowed.
Same.
Just shit that I ain't trying to read, right? I hate this fucking time of year, this time of 4-year cycle.
Well, yeah. And I'm, and it's never anything personal, but it's just kind of like,
no.
Look, it's not to sound like an ass, but it's like, dude, I mean, like I was just saying, my dad was here for like 4 or 5 days. It's like, we're going to go out and we're going to experience what is happening around us, leave the phones at home, turn off the soch and just go wine tasting, go have some nice food, just experience life. And I'll get to the social. It is not on the top of my priority list. I'll get there when I get there. Wait until I know there's some people they're like, hey, wait until my next deuce, and then you'll hear from me because that's the only time I'm on this thing.
John Jacobs catching us for the first time live. Always listen to Apple Podcasts, so thank you for doing so. I hope if you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, you left us a review, 5 stars preferably, but you do you. No pressure.
Absolutely. Ayo, Twitter is poison right now. That's not just 100%. Twitter.
Yeah, it's just the world, man.
Yeah. And hopefully things get a lot better, pointed in a better direction in November. But we'll remains to be seen. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. And again, there are some things that could be clarified. We are sitting on a juicy piece. We have to wait until they're public. So
yeah.
Until then, we will catch you all next time. Good night, everybody.